Hello, beer fans, brothers of Barleyhood. Tonight, we're going to do the finals for the American Adjunct Lager Tournament. But sorry for the delay. There was a little glitch with the link to join. I noticed that it didn't underline the total link. So if you clicked on it, you got a partial link and you got the dreaded error 404, I think. That's sort of like the black screen of laptop computer death. Sorry about that. And we have another member to join in a few minutes, hopefully John Anile in Georgia. But we're just going to sit and chat here for a few minutes. If anybody wants to throw me a question about beer, feel free to do it. But we're going to get this done tonight, and it will be the official final verdict. So just hang tight for a while. I've got my two beers in the bullpen, and so we're going to have a good time with it. Puppy's got
Coors and PBR. The Coors cans I get, it's their Legacy series. So I guess there's three different cans. I think I had one from like 1950 last time, and this one's the 1960s. It's the second in the series, and it kind of just shows. So you got Coors Banquet, which was located over here in Colorado, and it kind of shows like with the dotted red lines, like where they reached in that era. So you can see there, it still really hasn't gone past the Mississippi.
Right.
In the 1960s. So
in 1976, they were only available in 11 states. Nothing east of Oklahoma. It's sort of like, and then people often view the Mississippi River as the sort of DMZ line, Coors, no Coors. But eventually, and it was up to 1991 before Coors got nationwide distribution. I think Indiana may have been the final state that they, when they entered that. But the Coors, comparing these two brands, they have much different histories. Coors has had a much more stable history throughout. PBR has been topsy-turvy, popular, unpopular, but the Coors, it's been sort of rock steady as far as the ownership and sort of the course that they've taken. In 1977, PBR was at their peak. They produced 18 million barrels in 1977. 5 years later, they had slipped to number 5 in sales. And there was 1 year period of time, 1980 to 1981, they had 4 different CEOs. Talk about instability. That reminds me back when George Steinbrenner owned the New York Yankees, when he would change managers about every few months because the team wasn't doing well. Billy Martin I think, managed the Yankees on 5 different occasions. And he would fire managers just almost like, with a flick of the switch. But the Coors, they had the limited distribution, and it's still only brewed in Golden, Colorado. And Pabst is one of the currently still being brewed by Molson Coors, but that's going to change. By the year 2024, all of Pabst beers will be brewed by City Brewing, which has 3 large breweries in Memphis, Tennessee, in New York, and in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, La Crosse, Wisconsin. So I'm interested to see if I'm always been very happy the fact that Molson Coors has brewed the PBR, because I think their standards are very high as far as brewing as such. City Brewing has a little more sketchy reputation. They've brewed some very good stuff, and they've brewed some stuff that isn't quite so good. So I think it'd be interesting because they're taking on a big responsibility when they start brewing Pabst and all these other legacy brands. It's going to be a big, and I'm interested to see when I get my first PBR and look at that can, it's going to be a City Brewing code date rather than the PBR, which could happen, like I said, will happen sometime between now and the year 2024.
Now, Pabst is the bigger conglomerate of that, though, right?
Absolutely.
City Brewing's smaller? Or is that
Well, City Brewing is a much larger operation because they do tons of contract brewing. Per se, Pabst is more like a portfolio. They hold the portfolios of a lot of beers, but they're not an actual brewing company. They have a little pilot brewery in Milwaukee now they've gotten back into it. They dipped their feet in the water, but in essence, they own these brands, but they rely on another party to do the brewing for them. And when they had the falling out legally with Molson Coors, they had to search for another partner. And they connected with City Brewing, and they signed an agreement. And so, like I said, I think it'd be a gradual switch over by 2024. All of the beers, be it old style, Blatz, Carling Black Label, you name them, they'll all be brewed by City Brewing at one of their 3 facilities spread out across the country. But if you look on a lot of these flavored malt beverages, a lot of the code date and stuff, the City Brewing does a ton of stuff. And they are capable of doing some good work. They brew the Pabst Old Tankard Ale, which I thought was an excellent ESB. That was one of my favorite beers, period. I know the first time I poured that, it had that nice thick head that crackled. It wasn't fizzy. A nice deep amber color. And then that smell of the roasted sweet malts. I said, this has all the makings of a quality beer. And I took the first sip and just fell for it. I said, this is really good. And I drank it. It's one of my regular go-tos until another job of Pabst not really stepping up to the plate. They put the beer out, never rotated the stock, and just let it like die on the vine, like fruit that dies on the vine because it doesn't get watered, doesn't get nourishment. And then they say, well, people didn't buy it. Just malfeasance on their part, I think, from a marketing to distribution standard. Because that was an excellent beer. If you read the reviews, it was one of those beers that seemed like it really appealed to the craft beer community. It appealed to the regular beer drinkers who wanted something a little more adventuresome, a little, to step out of the comfort zone a little bit with something that didn't feel intimidated by ESB being not a hoppy beer, but a flavorful beer. I thought it was excellent. But, I'm still waiting to hear from Pabst. I emailed them. It's been probably 6 weeks ago trying to find some information about where I could purchase Schlitz. Schlitz has been getting harder to find in my area. I like Schlitz. It's one of my favorite macro lagers with that little kiss of hops. But haven't heard yet. Conversely, I had an issue with a Guinness I purchased. It was past the regular freshness date. I didn't check, which I do 99.9% of the time, but this was during the height of the coronavirus, the 6 feet social distancing. I grabbed a can at a convenience store of the Guinness Extra Stout, the 19.2 ounce can, and when I paid for it, come home and looked, and it was like it was about 7 months past the freshness date, which is 10 months. So in essence, it was a 17-month-old beer. I emailed them. They got back in touch right away with me, gave me a case number even for one can of beer. And they wrote me, they mailed me a check for the price of the beer and thanked me for my patronage. Within a couple of days. And then about a week later, I got a check in the mail for $2.12 for that. And then I took the Owen back, and they gave me my money back for it. So in essence, I got the beer free and got $2 and change back for it. But they stepped at the plate over one beer that was past the code date. That means something to me, and I'm going to be thinking about that next time I buy a Guinness. Because I appreciate people who act like they appreciate your business.
Right.
Not the Pabst, just sort of apathy toward the customer. It's but that's just in a beer, you'll find out a lot of things like it. Some care about their customers, some don't. I think that's one reason that with the emergence of craft beer that the drinkers felt like they had a more direct connection with the brewery. You being a home brewery, it is more of an intimate relationship. Although with some now it's getting to be larger that have sold out, but still I think there's more of they feel more of a connection with the beer that they're drinking. They want to patronize those that they share the same beliefs about for his beer and the same commitment to quality and excellence. And when I say excellence, I mean go beyond just the brewing itself, excellence in marketing, excellence in having fresh beer, the distribution. It's the total drinking experience that people like. And I think that they often get rewarded more with that with craft beer.
Right.
It's We've got a few comments on here. We'll read some of the comments here that people have waited patiently. Nina Yorta, who's recently began showing up on some of the hangouts, I've noticed. PBR and Greek chicken salad. Nothing more needs to be said about that. We'll skip that. The less said, the better. Yeah. Yeah, but feel free, everybody. Just go ahead, state your preference. Might even add them up at the end and see, which one that the people's champion, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, waiting on a Nelly to get home still. Hopefully he'll be home shortly. Yeah, Ronnie, I will be drinking Coors in the PBR. I have nothing going right now.
I think he thought you were slipping in one on the side, but that would corrupt your palate, right? So
yeah, I know. I had some earlier. I tried to keep some lighter stuff, but
his mind, he wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, it's been a minite. So.
Yeah, the PBR here about the lower ABV here. It's PBR used to be it's 4.74 for a long time. That was the official ABV of PBR. Now, if you look on the website, it's 4.8. Math always told me if it's less than half, you go down to the lower one. I'm not surprised that Pabst chose to go to the higher one. Pabst does their own thing.
We'll do this.
4.74 is closer. But anyway, that's just.
let me try to get one of these. That's
okay.
The Coors.
Okay, August 24th, brewed on a Monday at Golden, Colorado. Okay.
This is the PBR.
Okay.
I can get it in the screen.
August 24th. Wow.
The exact same day.
What a coincidence. You got some
good. You got some. Do you know what that code is at the bottom?
Okay. C, that was brewed on a Wednesday. 08 brewery would be Trenton, Ohio. And it was brewed at 2840. It was the last one is the military time. I didn't quite catch that, but that's not important. But so you got a beer from Trenton, Ohio, and one from Golden, Colorado. So representing two parts of the country. But going back to the PBR about their ABV, that's just Pabst being Pabst. They do what they want to. And then the Coors is at even 5.0, the same as Budweiser. That seems to be the high cap for these American Adjunct Lagers at 5%. Most of them range between 4.5% to 5%.
PBR's union made. Is Coors union made as well? Coors doesn't say if it's made by a union.
It probably isn't then. I've never heard that discussed, but I'm thinking that would probably be something that they would put on there. In general, the Coors has more information. On mine, the Coors listed the ABV and the calorie count, neither of which is on the PBR can.
Yeah, I can't find the ABV on the PBR. It does have the fluid ounces, and it says it's union made.
Yeah, but it doesn't list the, like I said, the calorie count or the ABV. But
calories, carbs, 0 grams of fat, but there is 1 gram of protein. for building muscle.
The one.
I hope Nelly didn't get stuck in his elevator.
Cheers, Dr. Frosty Brew. Seems like we have a lot of early preferences for Coors from the Peanut Gallery.
I won't let that sway my vote. Let how the beers speak to me. They're probably going to speak pretty similar, but
the difference between those two beers is the PBR Canada is brewed in Canada. The PBR USA is brewed in Molson, is brewed in Colorado. In PBR, it's called, excuse me, I'm sorry, the PBR, I think that's the same with the PBR and the Coors. There's a version brewed in the United States, there's a version brewed in Canada. The Coors Original, in Canada, it's called Coors Original. There's a guy on YouTube who drinks both of them out in the snow. He pulls them out of the snow, they've been kept cold, and drinks both. He thought there was a difference between the Coors Original and the Coors Banquet. And the PBR, it's the same. I think Steelman's in Canada does the PBR version for Canada. And everybody knows the version the United States is done at the various Molson Coors facilities. I think that the difference is the origin of where it's brewed. That's the difference between those two. Steelman is a large brewery in Canada. They do contract brewing and kind of sort of like a city brewing, I think.
Coors or Mountain Men.
Okay. But there's a here he is, John Anile.
Hey guys.
Hi.
What's up?
Glad you could
Sorry,
make
I'm late.
That's okay.
Yeah, me too. So have y'all started drinking them yet?
No.
Just been shooting the breeze about a little bit of beer talk and with the
Okay.
people chat with the comers. So
Do you want to hit the different selection of the view, Willie? Break it up a little bit.
Okay, let's see which one it's.
The one to the right of that, I think they're all kind of rectangular. There you go.
Okay, is that good?
Yeah, that looks good. Yeah.
I feel less claustrophobic that way.
Okay. Anything that minimizes my look, I'm all for it. If they had a thumbnail on here, I would do it for myself. But anyway.
All right. I'm going to crack into these now.
Okay, yeah. Commence the drinking.
I've let mine warm up to an appropriate 70 degrees.
70 degrees. I've kept mine I'll grab mine. I've kept mine in the freezer bullpen. Fridge.
This will be a good one. I like PBR and Coors Banquet are probably two of my go-tos when it comes to macro beers. So, yeah,
pretty damn even pour there for both of mine. Coors is right here. PBR is right here. Very similar coloration. Heads pretty much identical.
So this is the Coors here and PBR here. And yeah, the color on mine looks identical. I mean, there's no difference in color at all.
Straw can be.
The head, the only difference with mine is the head on the PBR is a little bit bigger than the head on the Coors Banquet. So
I poured mine both straight down the middle because I double fisted it, and both the heads are pretty much the exact same size. Dissipating at about the same rate too. The bubbles seem a little bit larger in the PBR than they are in the Coors.
yep, same here. I think that's why the head on the PBR is sticking around a little bit better because there's more it's more soapy, foamy head on it. So pretty dang close in appearance.
Looks like, without actually feeling the carbonation on the mouth, carbonation in the glass looks identical for me.
Yeah, both of them are very effervescent, nice champagne-like bubbles continuously going up the glass.
Whew.
The PBR has more of an aroma, more of a hop note on the PBR, at least for me, than on the Coors. And both of mine are very fresh. I got yeah.
My Coors is not smelling good at all.
Really?
What's your code date, John?
I'm going to pour it into a different glass. Maybe I don't know if there's something wrong with my glass.
John, what's your code date?
The code date on the Coors is A. I can't tell if that's a 1 or 2. A106.
Okay, that would be 10. That is the 10. That's Golden, Colorado. It was brewed on a Monday.
Okay, and then on the PBR, it's E07.
A, B,
0.
C, D, E. E is Thursday, 07. Well, yours is close to home. That's Albany, Georgia.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. And on Bumpy's, both of his were the exact same date, August the 24th.
Yeah.
A little spooky, but.
Mine are close. Both of mine, the best by one is June 17th. The other one is June 22nd. So very close date range.
My Coors is August the 31st, and PBR is August the 22nd. So mine are close too, and that's pretty good on the freshness scale. Mine are a little bit colder, I think. I didn't get much head, but I'll swirl it, and if I pour another pour, they always develop more head as they warm a bit. It gets better.
Right.
But
I think I got a bad can of Coors.
Really? Wow.
This has a horrific smell to it.
Everything's going perfect so far.
I had a whole 12-pack, and I have not smelled this smell in a Coors ever. I even switched glasses. I poured it. I mean, unless I took the notes of the other glass and carried it over. But
my Coors smells fine. I'm picking up that little bit of banana in it. It's almost like a juicy fruit gum aroma. Subtle.
Yeah, you kind of pick up that little fruity ester note with the Coors. One thing I'll say is the Coors is definitely a little sweeter on the aroma. The PBR is more hoppy. It's got more of a hop note that I'm picking up on the
nose. Yeah. It's drier.
Right.
My Coors, I get a little bit of the banana ester in there, but I'm picking up something that's like resembling formaldehyde. It smells like a strong chemical, and it's burning my nostrils.
Do you have another Coors in the fridge?
I don't.
There's no backup, no reinforcements.
The PBR smells fine. The PBR smells light, crisp, and there's a little bit of a hop presence in there. Kind of herbal, earthy type hop presence out of the PBR. The Coors has that banana ester, but it's burning my nostrils with like this strong, like chemical smell.
far as the appearance, I can't tell any difference between these two. What about the carbonation?
About the same for me. They're both very active, very effervescent and bubbly.
I'm a little surprised. To me, mine, the PBR seems to be a little more active. That just might be an anomaly, but just
Very close. It's hard to tell, really.
I'm gonna have to not go with the smell on this one. I don't think. Hopefully the flavor is okay.
Hopefully.
Oh, jeez, I'm crow. Yeah, I don't know if it was like something wrong with the glass I first poured it in and it carried over. Like maybe that glass didn't quite, because my dishwasher like is kind of crap on the bed, so maybe it didn't quite do a good job.
I like the way you think, Bumpy. I'm thirsty. I'm going to take a sip of the Coors here. That one's tasty. Let's see about the PBR.
Coors to me has like
closer than I thought.
I think the Coors has more of a well-rounded flavor. The PBR kind of has this dip at the tail end. It kind of goes down to like it like loses flavor tail end. Coors kind of carries it out.
I don't have my air conditioning running yet, and it's been warm today, and these are tasting damn good. To me, this is the perfect spot for an American Adjunct Lager. These are tasty.
Man,
good.
The Coors is a little smoother. I don't know if I would say more balanced, but just smoother, more malty. And the PBR is got more bite to it. Just kind of based on the aroma, I thought the PBR would have more of a hot bite, and it definitely does.
Yeah, it does have a more of a bitter finish. But I think as far as the malt profile goes, I think the Coors kind of has that for it more than the PBR.
As I drink more of the PBR, I'm starting to pick up a little bit more of that Carlsberger yeast, the wine, which adds to the dryness of it, almost like a little white wine at the finish. Or the Coors is more that little banana ester. So they do have their subtleties. These are much more similar than dissimilar, but these two do have a little bit of delineating differences.
Right.
But, which I like better is pretty. So far, my palate isn't giving me a clear winner.
Yeah, this is really close, and I'm glad that this is the one that I was able to join, especially because obviously this is for all the the trophy goes home with the winner tonight.
All the marbles.
That's right, all the marbles. This is dang close. I thought I was going to like the PBR better because I buy a lot more, and I do like the hop note, the little extra hop bite with the PBR. But I got to say, the Coors is just a little bit smoother, and that fruity ester, the banana note that we've always kind of talked about that the Coors has, that's really shining with this beer. And golly, man. It's going to be.
I got to say, I'm drinking these things at the incorrect temperature. 67 degrees for the Coors. 65 degrees for the PBR.
That's stout. That's in stout territory.
So I'm picking up on all the faults.
Yeah.
So.
I hate that.
They're both going down very easily, as you can see. The PBR has better lacing than the Coors.
I'll concur with that.
So,
I did have to switch glasses though, so I don't know the Coors. If I went off aroma alone, I would definitely say the Coors sucked tonight, but I'm not sure that was totally the beer. I think that I had a faulty glass or something. So.
I know you
Now,
get.
that's something else I have to start adding to my beer tasting videos. I have to smell my
Yeah.
glasses before using them.
I know I've often harped about the many things that can affect beer tasting, variations, and you mentioned on yours about washing your hands.
Right, using soap. Yeah,
I thought that was a very good salient point that you made it during that video. The amount of things can affect these. Each one of these is like a snapshot. Someone else may have a totally different experience with it. There's no right or wrong. It's just what you feel like in the moment. What you prefer. And that's the nice thing about beer. It's got a universal appeal in that effect. That people taste things differently. They drink them at different temperatures. They drink them at different situations, different gatherings. Mm-hmm. There are different scenarios for beers. Like a stout, maybe different than a guy comes home from work, 5 p.m. whistle blows. He wants to go home and have a nice, refreshing lager. Maybe on a Sunday morning, he wants to kick back with a nice dessert stout.
So right, nothing like starting off your Sunday morning with a 13.5% barrel aged stout, right?
Yeah, because Monday you start another work week, and hell, I'm going to enjoy Sunday.
Right.
I'm having a stout this morning. Nothing wrong with that. And
yeah, actually, because you mentioned the yeast or whatever for the PBR,
the Carlsberger.
I am noticing that the PBR is actually more drying on the tongue.
It's a dry.
I'm left with like a cat scratch tongue after drinking PBR. The Coors tends to leave like a kind of film or whatnot that's still stays like kind of liquid on your palate.
Ted Nugent, cat scratch tongue. Dun, dun,
right.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I find the PBR to be a little bit drier in the finish just because of the extra hop bite that you're getting. But both of them have a relatively dry finish. Both of them are on the medium to almost high side with the carbonation. The body with both of these is really light, crisp, refreshing. You can't go wrong with either one. This is really tough. And I think you said earlier, William, it really comes down to your mood too. You get home from work or you're outside doing whatever, you want a beer. You might feel like a Coors Banquet one day. You might feel like a PBR the next day. These beers just go hand in hand. They're really so similar that they're both winners. And it's, if we did this tomorrow, my vote might be different than it is tonight. But I think I know what I'm leaning towards, which
Anelli, which one do you think has a sweeter palate to it?
I think the Coors Banquet is definitely sweeter because it doesn't have quite the hop bite on the finish that the PBR has. And I find that the hop bite on the PBR, it balances it out a little bit better and the sweetness drops off. Whereas the malt character of the Coors kind of carries through the finish because it doesn't have that that noticeable hop bite that I'm picking up with the PBR.
Plus, you do get that banana, or at least I do.
Plus the fruity esters,
the banana ester and the
exactly.
One thing I noticed about the superior lacing of the PBR, which is brewed by Molson Coors, and I've always thought Miller beers had very good lacing. So I'm not surprised that this, being a member, they're still brewing it for now. I'm not surprised of the lacing because to me that looks like a Miller High Life. The characteristics, the lacing, it had a better head. So I'm not surprised by that aspect of it. But my palate is still ambivalent. I need to make a decision here soon.
The one thing I am kind of noticing in both of these, especially being at such a warm temperature, I figured this is something I usually taste in a lot of these types of beer styles, more or less cervezas. And I think I even mentioned it in the Pabst before that I was picking up on like a cardboard or clay type note. I'm actually not picking that up today on the palate.
The Coors warmed just a bit, and it's got twice the head it had before. They always develop more head as they get a little bit warmer. But mine are still cold and still refreshing on a warm evening in North Carolina.
The PBR for me still is retaining, as you can see, like 1/8 of an inch of head, and the Coors is down to nothing. And I didn't have them super cold to begin with. I mean, I had them in the fridge, but I didn't. A lot of times with beers like this, I'll put them in the freezer for 10 or 15 minutes to get them nice and super chilled. I didn't do that, but they're still relatively cold, and the PBR for me is
That's the
maintaining
PBR. That's my PBR. That's my Coors.
Yeah, the PBR on John still has a nice skim on top.
Right, and the Coors has settled down.
The Coors doesn't even have a rim of foam, really.
No. Plus the PBR, the lacing with the PBR, as I mentioned earlier, is a lot nicer as well.
Yeah.
And these are all appearance notes, so as far as I'm concerned, it's not really going to play into the actual winner for me, and I think for you guys as well. It's really it all comes down to how the beer tastes, right? Mm. At least for me.
And the more I drink, the more I. And I'm not saying I'm liking it more than the other one. I'm just saying the more I drink, the more I like the PBR. Like at first, it was a little more off-putting than it is right now to me. So,
but it is rather interesting about the differences in appearance. I've got one of my relatives who works for a restaurant supply company, and they supply the dishwashers to Foothills Brewery in Winston-Salem, a craft brewery. And he said that lacing aspect is something that's very important. They always tell him, we got to get the lacing. It means something to our customers. So those dishwashers are designed to scrub those as clean as possible in order to allow that lacing to adhere to the glass, the inside of it. He always tells me, they always talk about lacing. We got to have the lacing. And they supply I don't know how they probably cost as much as a car, but they're very at Foothills Brewery. So it's the appearance, sometimes we drink with our eyes. And appearance an aroma is very important. The nose can be 80% of the taste, they say. The sensory terms. So it's all a part of the total experience.
It is, and if the beer doesn't look good, like if there were if this beer was green and had like chunks in it, even if it tasted great, you'd already be going into it with a very biased viewpoint because you're thinking to yourself like, oh my goodness, this isn't going to be good. And it could be great, but you are right. The appearance does mean something in the overall experience. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I've had Coors and PBR so many times over the years that the appearance, like when you're kind of comparing and there's like very minute differences. Yeah. I mean, does it make that much of a difference at this point for me? Not really. If it's your first time drinking either one of these beers, you might, hold that to a higher regard. It might be a little bit more important to you. It just depends on your experience really with the beer. I would like to think that most people watching this have already had both of these beers and are just interested to see what we think, because if you're a beer drinker and you haven't had Coors or PBR, then are you really a beer drinker?
What you described a minute ago sound like Schlitz in the late 70s with the chunks.
Yeah.
When they tried to put that foaming agent in it, and they started putting it a shorter period of time and try to compensate that by putting some questionable chemicals in it, and people start getting chunks in there. But that goes back to Business 101, how to screw up a company, Schlitz Brewery.
And the recipe was never the same after that. They went to they tried to go back. The original recipe was lost, and then they created the Gusto, which was supposed to be close to the original recipe. And now who knows what we're drinking now.
Yeah, that's right.
But the original recipe is long gone.
Got a comment here. I'd like to give a little shout out to DC 93, Mr. DC 90 fan 93, who's in my neck of the woods in North Carolina. He's only about 20 miles away, and he's always commented on my videos and watched regularly. So I started this up. So I'd like to give him a thumbs up to a fella Tar Heel.
Very nice. But apparently he's a Cowboys fan though. Apparently.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking I think people that like Belgians would probably enjoy the Coors just because of that banana ester. It's kind of something that's familiar to like Belgian style ales or even Hefeweizens over in Germany. And I think the PBR it does have that more of a hop bite at the end. So I think that might appeal more towards like IPA drinkers and stuff. If you were to.
I would say, that's a good point. And the Belgian quality that you're talking about, that's very interesting because in a way, especially as the beer is warming a little bit, the Coors Banquet almost has a little bit of like a Belgian ale type characteristic to it. And the PBR stays more along the same lines with the hop bite. I'm not finding that the PBR is changing as much as it warms. The Coors, those fruity notes are coming through a little bit more as it warms.
Yeah.
The PBR is staying more the same. I like that though.
I don't think
if you
mine
like
can
more
start.
forward beers, you'd probably like the PBR a little bit better. If you're more into hoppy beers and you want more of a bitter finish, then maybe you'd be more inclined to like the PBR.
I don't think mine can change much more. I mean, it's already starting to boil. So
I think I've decided.
I haven't decided yet. I'm still actually. I decided a long time ago, but as I keep drinking, I'm kind of.
I have decided. So whenever you want me to let you know, this is a lot tougher than I thought, and it just clicked for me which one I'm gonna go with. But like I said, on any given night, it could be a different outcome.
Yeah, I feel good about the scenario here because mine were obviously the same temperature. They were cold, but not icy cold. Right. I was thirsty. I've got a clean palate. Haven't eaten anything for many hours. So I feel like this is pretty representative of what I'm going to get for these most times. So we'll wind the clock down. 5.
Okay. I got my winner.
Timeout. Okay.
But I got to give a reason. I got to give a reason behind it.
Hold up the can.
When the countdown gets to 0, do we just hold up the can?
We'll have 3 cans held up. And,
the can that you
and
choose.
If my math is okay, we'll go through 5, 4. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh!
Holy shit!
Whoa!
Wow.
Okay. I gotta say, I'm surprised that Coors didn't get at least one vote because, I mean, for me, I could have easily given it to the Coors. That little special hop character with the PBR, I think outweighs the banana fruity notes that the Coors offers. That's my personal.
For me, when I first started drinking these, now they weren't like ice cold. Like I normally would just grab them out of the fridge and they'd be pretty chilled because we waited around a little bit. So I had them out for a good 45 minutes. So
bumpy.
Starting off, and this has nothing to. I can't go with the aroma because that was the worst aroma I've ever smelled out of. I can't say out of any beer because I do homebrew, and I've smelled some pretty awful crap. But the Coors, like that was a horrific smell. But so I had to like not go by the smells at all. So I just had to rely on the taste. The flavor out of the Coors at first I really enjoyed over the PBR when it was a little bit colder. Because it did still kind of have that banana ester and stuff like that. And then the PBR just kind of had that, kind of, like I said, it kind of did this kind of like it had flavor and then dipped down, but it did have that nice bitter bite at the finish. And over time, even as they warmed even more, the PBR still drank more like a beer, like a lager or a pilsner or whatever they call these things. With that hot bite was still there. It was still nice. It still felt crisp. As the Coors, though, it started just getting, you get the banana esters and stuff, and it just started just dying off. It didn't have the hot bite, the hot finish, and it just started getting blah over time. So I think as just like a long drinker, that's why I chose the PBR. I think it withstood the amount of time of sitting there drinking it. I know these aren't made to just sit there and ponder over for a long period of time, but that was my decision.
To me, it comes down to, it's sort of like people that like to drive a Ferrari. It might not be the most mechanically reliable vehicle, but it has character, a certain experience. To me, I just like the character of the PBR. It just brought more to the table for me. The dryness, the finish, the little bit more malty, the little wine dryness note at the end. To me, it just had a little more character. Maybe not in terms of brewing perfection, the Coors may be a little bit superior. But sometimes it's also saying, do you like good taste or something that tastes good? To me,
Right.
the Coors had good taste. The PBR tastes good. So I'll put up with a few warts. Maybe like I'll drive a Ferrari. It's not going to be like a Honda Civic. It's not going to be like a Toyota Corolla, maybe, but I'm going to enjoy it more. So sometimes it comes down to form over function or function over form. I just like the PBR a little bit better, and that's what decided for me. But only for 95% of the time I drank them, it was a dead heat for me.
Yeah,
at the very end,
very close.
To say, I really think I like this one better.
Yeah. Oh, Kevin Johnston says, wasn't there something wrong with your Coors? I don't know if there was something wrong with the Coors itself. The taste on it was kind of what Coors is. That's why I had to not go by the aromas, because it may have been something, maybe my glass that was cleaned. Like I said, my dishwasher's on the fritz. We actually just purchased a new dishwasher. It should be here at some point next week, probably. So I'm thinking that maybe some of the dish detergent wasn't fully washed out of the glass and then it baked it in there. So it did have a weird chemical aroma to it, but the flavor was okay. Didn't seem to affect the flavor.
Both of mine were spot on with the aroma, the flavor, all of that. The PBR wins with the appearance. The PBR also, I thought, won with the flavor profile, and that hoppy finish is really what kind of set it over for me. I will say that the Coors is more is more not balanced, is smoother overall. The PBR is a little bit more balanced overall. And like William said, like the Ferrari Toyota Corolla reference. So the Ferrari, it's an awesome car, right? But, it may be a little rough around the edges. You don't want to drive it off of like a super well-paved road because it's going to drive like crap.
Overheating traffic.
Right. So maybe it's a little bit more rough around the edges and not as smooth as like a Toyota Corolla on all surfaces, but I would still
more time in the garage
over the Toyota Corolla. And although the PBR may be considered a little bit more rough around the edges, because it's definitely not as smooth as the Coors. I'll give the Coors the win in the smoothness category. But I like that little roughness. I like that little bit of that. I wouldn't call it a harsh hop bite, but a lot of people consider like a bitter finish or a bittering finish. It takes away from the smoothness of the beer. But for me, that's what makes it better for me. That little bit of something extra.
And I think sometimes the more you drink of these, you're looking for that something a little bit, that little special sauce to it, something a little bit different. And for me, the PBR delivers in that, just a little bit something extra to it.
Yeah, I never noticed the hoppiness in the PBR until tonight with drinking it against the Coors.
I've always enjoyed.
Then that's when I noticed that there actually is a bite on the PBR, because I hear people talk about like, oh, it's hoppier, and I'm like, it's an American lager. Where's the hops? Well, I guess it is actually.
When you compare it to other beers,
when you compare it to something,
it's noticeable. Yeah. But when you drink,
after drinking an IPA and then you drink a PBR,
I was going to say your palate's probably spoiled from all the nice New England IPAs that you've been drinking lately. So hoppy takes on a different meaning when you're talking about American Adjunct lagers than it does with craft beer.
Like obviously. I said, I just drank a Dale's Pale Ale, which is 2 weeks old.
Yeah. Wow.
Night.
Craig Swenson disagrees. What's he disagree with?
The hops were marching all over my tongue on that Dale's Pale Ale. They were full of fours. But is Busch still the wild card?
I don't think we know. I think we put this one to bed.
Yeah.
Well, Busch wouldn't. I mean, Busch definitely has the least amount of flavor of all of the beers, the 4 main featured beers in the tournament. Budweiser, Miller High Life, they definitely have a unique flavor, a little bit more easy to differentiate than between the two of these, I think. But Busch is
to me
much more light. Busch would be better fit in a light beer category.
My feeling is Busch would be the wild card, and a light beer tournament would be much more interesting.
Right.
I've already thought about that. So to me, that could be a wild card in a light beer. Busch versus Bud Light would be a very good matchup. There's only 0.1% difference in ABV and 4 calories. So you could say, what the heck's the difference? Then you could.
Well, if you look at what's your next matchup that you want to go with, Willie?
I may just throw it up and let people, get some feedback.
Somebody in the chat earlier, I liked this idea, said, if I can find it, they would like an ice beer challenge. So I think that would be good because most people can get Bud Ice, Busch Ice, Keystone Ice.
Not an ice block. Not an ice block, because those are really hard to
find. No, not an ice block because nobody can get ice block beers.
There's only one in America, and I drank.
Right. Yeah.
And I own that idea too because we did that in 2017. I could definitely bring back the ice beer thing. So that's something else. I mean, it's endless. I mentioned about the AAL Final Four. Maybe Bell's Two Hearted versus Dale's Pale Ale, then Lagunitas IPA versus Voodoo Ranger.
Right. I like your idea too, just doing, instead of, it doesn't always have to be a tournament like 4 beers. You could do the SmackDown series like you're talking about, where you just take one beer, face it off against another beer, and then see who the winner is.
Yeah, the SmackDown series is, I'm calling you out. I think I'm better than you. So, and that would be good. It'd be like apples versus apples comparison. Beers that you might cross shop when you're out, or maybe should cross shop because of the similarities. But yet, so the SmackDown, there may be a SmackDown series.
We could have, I don't know if I want to say this live on air because it's a really good idea, and I don't know if I want to really get into this. We can have state versus state tournaments. So you could have I think I'm going to find the best IPA in my state and win a versus somebody else's state. Those people will have to mail out to everybody that's going to participate the beer that they're going to do. So I could send out what I think is the best New Hampshire IPA or IPA made in New Hampshire out to all the contestants. And then, say John Nelly's like, well, I think mine's the best in Georgia, and he'll have to mail that same whatever one he thinks, and then we all have the Georgia IPA and the New Hampshire IPA, and we pit them together, and then you find out which one you like more. For that cost, I mean, that's going to cost a little bit of money, and it's going to be shipping.
That would take a little bit more planning, but I like that idea, and I'm never opposed to getting beer mail.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, speaking of beer mail, Brian's package was sitting at my doorstep when I got home.
Oh, was it intact?
It barely. Wait till I do this box is beat to hell. It's a miracle.
They probably got scolded. So the person that was dealing was probably like, I got written up.
Well, it was originally sent to Kent, Washington, so Washington State. And then it had to travel back east to Georgia. So, yeah, it's been all over the country. So hopefully the beers will be intact when I open. I haven't opened the box yet, so we'll see what awaits with that. But it's funny, the PBR won, but the Coors Banquet went down quicker. It's gone. So I'm left with my PBR now.
Somehow Bo Ice has made it into the chat section. Speaking of hidden brands,
now I haven't had the Bo Ice, but I did get to try the Natty Bo. I got that up in your neck of the woods when we went to the Total Wine and More.
You got a 12-pack at Total Wine in Winston-Salem. That's after we visited. We got the private tour at the Foothills Brewery, which is very nice.
That's right. Yeah, that was probably the highlight.
That was a great day.
I would love to, and you probably
that one.
I'm sure you probably have a better shot at this than I do. The barrel aged series that they were starting. when they showed us a little barrel age collection of, I think it was the sexual chocolate that they were barrel aging. And I tried the sexual chocolate on draft, and I thought it was excellent. So if you ever get a chance to get a bottle or try the draft version, if you go back to the brewery of the sexual chocolate barrel aged, I bet you that stuff is dynamite.
The one I like is the one's called Dead and Buried. It's a blueberry style, 10%.
Oh, that sounds good.
Dead and Buried, Berried.
Oh, nice. Okay. Now is that a Foothills beer?
It is a Foothills.
I don't recall. Yeah, I've never heard of that one before.
I believe you could have gotten it that day, but you got the sexual chocolate instead, I believe. But I think it was half that day. But it's very good. The blueberry mixed in with the stout flavors. It's very. If you like the,
I love fruit flavors and stouts. Like, I mean, chocolate covered strawberries, chocolate covered blueberries, chocolate covered any fruit.
Yeah.
So when you take that and you liquefy it, that's what you get out of a beer. You get like a chocolate covered blueberry flavor profile in a beer. Yeah. And with the high alcohol like that, it's masked well because there's so much body to beers like that it's like drink. I mean, you get, inebriated and you don't even realize you're drinking a strong beer.
It taps you on the shoulder eventually and says, I'm taking over.
Right. It's like, hi, I'm 10%. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's too late by then. It's already got control.
Right.
It's
I saw that Ron Terrio in the chat there talked about his Dodge Avenger that had the 4-cylinder world engine. I had a 2008 Mitsubishi Lancer that also had that same engine in it, and that engine worked perfectly great. There's never an issue with it until I got it up to like 170,000 miles, and it started having head gasket problems.
Yeah, I think those engines were built in Normal, Illinois. They had the Eagle Talon, then you had the Mitsubishi Eclipse. They both came off the same assembly line. I had an Eagle Talon at one time, had the 4-banger, but it made about 200 horsepower, and it was, I think, turbocharged. It was a pocket rocket. But those are some very good cars back then, the Eclipse and the Eagle Talon.
I had an Eclipse. My first car, my first vehicle was a Mitsubishi. It was a 1987 Mitsubishi Montero Sport 2-door, 5-speed, 4-cylinder, 4-wheel drive. It was an awesome first vehicle because I got to learn how to drive a stick. Right. And then my first purchased car, because the Montero was a hand-me-down. That was my dad's vehicle for years. My first purchased vehicle was a 2002 black Mitsubishi Eclipse V6 2.4 liter, and that was a lot of fun to drive as well. So my first two cars were Mitsubishi, and that Mitsubishi Eclipse, I'd probably still have it to this day if I didn't total it.
Got a comment here on Ninny Yorty Gansett. I love the Narragansett lager. That would be one that I would put in my top 3 or 4 among the adjunct lagers. We can get that in North Carolina.
Narragansett, until I moved out here, I never used to see it, but it's actually becoming quite popular around here. I see it at several big chain grocery stores now.
5% ABV. Kind of reminds me of the Coors Extra Gold. Almost like a baby malt liquor. It's got a sweetness to it, a full-bodied flavor. But I like the Gansett products in general. But
I find that the Narragansett has a little bit more hop character too. Yeah. So maybe for a SmackDown event, we could do the PBR, the winner of this tournament versus Narragansett. I'd be interested in doing that.
I tell you, one beer that would be great for the SmackDowns is Hams. I'm calling you out, Hams. I'm better than you. Hams could make a very good case to take on a lot of these beers. So I'd
be interested in doing the Hams as well, because that's a great beer. I think that one's a little bit more similar to Coors, less of a hop bite than with the PBR, but that would be interesting. Maybe like a SmackDown between Hams and Old Milwaukee. Wow. Because I really like Old Milwaukee a lot too.
What I like about the Hams is it's got that fruity note, like a lemony, almost bordering on like a blonde ale. There's a little bit of craftiness hidden in there somewhere. And I think that's why Hams has won a lot of these taste tests among craft brewers and such, because it has a little bit of quality to it. that fruitiness is in there that almost reminds you like a craft version of an American lager or a craft version of a sessionable beer. So hams could kick some butt, I believe, if you do some smackdowns, which would be very interesting.
And it's interesting you were sharing with me. This was well over a year ago, but I believe it was the Chicago Tribune. They did a bunch of blind taste tests with a bunch of macro beers, and hams actually won.
But I think we can feel pretty vindicated the fact that PBR came in next.
Yeah.
And PBR also.
I honestly thought that Coors was going to win. I figured I was going to be the only one holding up the PBR can. I thought you were going to vote for Coors, William. Maybe not Bumpy because of his terrible experience with the aroma, but
no, I was actually still leaning. Like I said at the very beginning, if we only did like a 10-minute taste test, I would have gone with Coors. But as I sat there and kept drinking them, and as they warmed up more than what they were already, the PBR still tasted more crisp, like it was when it was colder, versus the Coors Banquet, which just totally fell flat and kind of had the banana esters and all that coming through, but it just didn't have the bite like the PBR did. Didn't have the crispness that carried on. Sorry to disappoint you, John.
No, I'm pleasantly surprised because PBR is one of my, I think for the price, you really can't beat it in the, macro lager category. Like, I think, what was it? Usually I buy the 12 packs, but I bought a 6-pack of the 16-ounce cans, and it was like $4.99.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get much better value-wise than that.
And the PBR Easy, I don't think you've gotten that one, but
I've had it.
You have had it? To me,
it was discontinued here. They sold it for like 2 weeks, and then it was gone. Much like the PBR Extra, which I really love the Extra, the 6.5% black label. That one disappeared even quicker than the Easy did.
Yeah, I just think the Easy was, it was a little bit lighter, but not much. It still tasted like a PBR, but I mean, it was lighter in calories and stuff like that. So that was a nice.
Either one of you have a chance to try the black label, the Extra 6.5% one?
I never got that here.
It's already been taken away from this area. I didn't get a chance because of my health.
The PBR Easy and the Extra were both gone within a month of being available here, which is unfortunate because the PBR Extra, I believe it's probably better than 90% of malt liquors out on the market. It's basically a malt liquor, 6.5%, very malt forward. Some people might consider it cloyingly sweet, but if you like Colt 45, if you like Old English, it's right up there with that. It's got a little bit more alcohol at 6.5%. That was a killer beer, and it still had that signature PBR hop bite that the regular Pabst has. And I was so disappointed that it was so short-lived here, because that, much like the Busch Signature Copper Lager, if they kept it,
I gotta give a sign of the cross for that one.
Right. If they kept it around and marketed it,
the dearly departed.
I think that was probably the best beer from Pabst. Next to PBR itself, the original PBR. It's just one of those beer. Well, Country Club, but let's not even talk about that. That just makes me very sad that I can't get Country Club.
Yeah, or Bull Eyes.
Or oh gosh, I forgot about
Bull Eyes.
Man, that's the best. That's the best ice beer I've ever had, and it's
the king of high gravity.
And it doesn't taste like high gravity at all.
But it's right. I know. A little story here. John Neely came to visit me back in late March of 2019. This was after I'd gotten out of the hospital after my surgery for colon cancer. I just gotten home a couple of weeks later. I was feeling really good, recovering, and he came right here in this room I'm in right now, I poured that Bull Ice into a goblet. And I remember the expression on his face. He took the first sip. It's like, I've met high gravity heaven.
Yeah. It does not get better than high, you know.
Wow,
that is the best high gravity malt liquor I've had.
And I remember you drank about half of the 40, and then I started chipping. I drank a little bit myself, but that was really, and I revisited myself, and I said, this is really damn good. I don't care what you call it, ice beer, malt liquor. This is a tasty concoction.
Right.
And I'm fortunate. Bull Ice is only available in 8 states, and North Carolina is the only southern state, or Virginia, right on the border, that you can get it. I can get 40s all day long. And to me, it's a hidden gem. When I say hidden, I would put that in probably caps. I don't like to use caps, because it is really that good. It's got all the good qualities you want in a higher flavored beer, but none of the drawbacks of many of the traditional ice beers or malt liquors that people complain about. It's just something about it, you know. But
yeah. And
here we have a comment here of Keystone Ice, which shares a little DNA with the Coors. I pick up a little bit of that banana note in the Keystone Ice.
Keystone, I mean, honestly, isn't it pretty much if you took a Coors Banquet and put it in the freezer for an hour and then skimmed off the ice crystals, that's pretty much what you'd be left with.
If you took it to ice beer school, it would come out and graduate as a Keystone Ice.
Right.
And that would be another one. It would be a fine. I did a review on Beer Advocate a couple years ago for Keystone. I said, this is the ice beer for people who don't like ice beers. Very highly drinkable at 5.9%. And it would make a very nice competitor in a ice beer Final Four. And it's priced right. It's got good flavor. It avoid most of the pitfalls that you taste with some of these higher gravity products or ice beers. So I think that would be a very formidable candidate.
And now we go to commercial break.
Yeah.
If you have heartburn, Alka-Seltzer, cough chews,
right,
extra strength.
Brought to you by Alka-Seltzer. Plop, plop, fizz.
Now,
fizz.
I can't say that these actually really help with your heartburn, but damn, are they tasty. They taste like fruited Mentos.
Those are the chews. Yeah, those are the chews, aren't they? Yeah,
these are delicious. They're like candy. The damn things.
I used to love the Luden's cough drops, the wild cherry. I don't care if it did anything for a cough, but they were damn tasty.
Yeah, I think they were just candy. They were like cherry candy drops.
They were. They started in the student union at the elementary and middle school, and half the students were addicted to those things. So they had to bring in a counselor to get people off of cough drops. Busch Ice is one of the most popular beers in my area. $5.99 for a 12-pack.
I stopped buying Busch Ice around here because all the cans are out of date, and it's like they won't replace them with fresh cans. The same 6-pack of Busch Ice, I think, has been sitting on the shelf at my Publix for the last 8 months.
I've got just the opposite situation, that it's fresh all the time. It sells so well here. It's priced to move. I saw a 12-pack yesterday was about 2 weeks old.
Yeah.
There's a price war going on for some time between the two main distributors in this area, IH Cafe and Behringer. Busch Ice got as cheap as $4.72 for a 12-pack at Walmart. They were battling back and forth between Milwaukee's Best Ice, 5.9, and Busch Ice. See how low you can go. Eventually, it bottomed out, but I picked up several 12-packs of Busch Ice. If you can get something, a beer that's 2 weeks old, less than $5 for a 12-pack with 5.9% ABV, I'm all in for that. It's a go-to regular summer drinker.
Right.
Let's run through the rest of
I've noticed that the Milwaukee's Best Ice has resurfaced here. It stopped. They got there's a new color scheme with the label design. It's like a black and gold color design. Anyway, I'm going to pick up a 12-pack next time I go to Publix.
Yeah.
But they got the 12-packs at Publix, and it was $7.99 for the 12-pack. So I'm definitely going to pick up a 12-pack. And and I haven't had Milwaukee's Best Ice probably in almost 2 years because it's not around here. So I'm kind of excited about that. And as I recall, or from what I remember, the last time I had it, it ended up being one of my favorites. I mean, I thought it was better than the Bud Ice, and it was right up there with Keystone Ice. Natural Ice, I think, is a little inferior to Keystone Ice, but yeah, it was up there. So I mean, for $7.99 a 12-pack, it's going to be hard to beat that.
Yeah, it's. I tell you, one I was just popped in my mind would make a very good budget beer Final Four. AAL American Adjunct would be the Milwaukee's Best Premium, 4.8% ABV.
Now that one I can't get anymore. Now maybe because I saw the ice, maybe they'll bring the premium back to my area soon. But as of now, that's one that's just not around here anymore. After they changed the name to the Milwaukee's Best Lager, right? When they switched it back from the lager back to the premium, it disappeared. I couldn't find it after that.
Yeah.
Yep. But, I don't know if it had anything to do with the name and people were confused. I mean, because the recipe stayed the same. When they changed it originally from the premium to the lager, they upped the ABV to 4.8%. And then when they changed the label, the name back to premium, they kept the ABV at 4.8%. But I don't know if people are aware of that. Maybe they thought that they changed it back to the original recipe and people stopped buying it, because I was not a fan of the premium before they upped the ABV. I think it was 4.2 or 4.3. I just thought it was too light. It kind of fell into that range like Busch does, where they're labeling it as a regular lager, but it really should be labeled as a light beer at this point. So when they upped the ABV and changed it to the lager, the sales started going crazy. I noticed a lot more people buying it. And then after they swapped back, completely gone from my area. So.
Yeah. A couple of nights ago, I did my own SmackDown in the house here. I did Rolling Rock versus Busch, 4.3 versus 4.4. So that might be one could bring to the YouTube channel. Very similarly, I call them the low gravity adjunct lagers, the ones that are right below the 4.5 or below percent. There aren't many, but I thought they were very interesting. That Busch and Rolling Rock are very dissimilar.
Yeah,
they are very. I was surprised.
I always actually preferred Busch Light over regular Busch, because I thought that the Busch Light had more hop character than regular Busch did. And the ABV difference is like 0.1 or 0.2% difference between the Busch and the Busch Light. So it's like, why? What's if either one could be considered a light beer? So
Ice Beer Challenge possibility.
I saw that comment earlier. I like that idea.
No, they
and then you could throw in a wild card with that. You could do like Molson Ice or Milwaukee's Best Ice, or yeah. But I think Busch Ice, Natty, Keystone, and Bud Ice would have to be the four, because those are the most popular ice beers, right? At least here they are.
I'm just thinking of like advertising instead of like Busch and then Busch Light. You could just have Busch Light and then Busch Extra Dry.
Right.
That was a big thing back in the 90s, the dry beers. You had Bud Dry, you had Michelob Dry, a lot of them, and they just, for whatever reason, disappeared. The only one that they still sell that's actually labeled dry on the label itself, is, at least to my knowledge, is the Asahi Super Dry, which is a Japanese, but I'm pretty sure that's InBev. But anyway,
I'm pretty sure it's because of Alex the Beermaster and his reviews, because he does not like the dryness in beers. Every time he gives a review on the dryness of the beer, he gives it like an 85.
He'll give the
the dryness gets an 85, but the beer itself,
right? The beer overall gets a 95, but the dryness, I got to give it a 70.
New Yorkie said host has had the Coors Extra Gold. I thought it was very good.
I got to try it thanks to guy up in Massachusetts sent me a can of it, and I was very disappointed after drinking it because I realized that's probably the only time in my life that I'll ever get to try it because it's nowhere around here.
Got a question here from Kevin Johnson. Is price factor in this challenge? Absolutely not, because these are so closely priced. That's not a factor in this.
Right. They're both very very budget friendly.
Right. And the thing about the core beers is every weekend they're on sale at the supermarket. You just shop your weekly flyer, and every second or third week, these are always going to be on sale.
Yeah.
So if you do a little bit of shopping, sort of like watching the stock market, you can get pretty good deals on all four of these.
So what's the difference from Milwaukee's Best and Old Milwaukee?
Just a completely different beer.
Is it?
Old Milwaukee was Schlitz's budget beer to compete against the Busch. That was their Busch equivalent.
So Old Milwaukee's it's not Milwaukee's Best.
No, it's Old Milwaukee was Schlitz.
Oh, okay.
A Schlitz product.
Because I can get Old Milwaukee. You get like that pinup girl that's all on the can.
That's the latest.
I've never had it before. I just thought it was the same as like Milwaukee's Best. I was like, why buy a 6-pack versus a 30-pack?
Milwaukee's Best was a separate entity until it was absorbed by Miller Brewing Company. It has a completely different history. It was absorbed into the brands, and now for a few years they did away with it because they were focusing on some of the brands they were sort of dismissing because they focused so much on Miller Lite became popular. But then they brought back the Milwaukee's Best series, and it's been a stable lineup now for probably about 20 years. But there are two separate entities. I mean, all of these beers have topsy-turvy histories, changing ownership, good times, bad times. But, and it seemed like most of them wound up in Pabst's portfolio for some reason.
Yeah.
It just seems like
So Kevin Johnson, I mean, you got him up on the screen there for quite a while. Is the price factor in the challenge? I don't think it is because most of these are similar beers anyways. Right. They're going to be very similar in price, but I can't speak for everybody, but like how I do it, it's just based off of how the beer is treating me that day. Like I've had certain beers and I've been surprised at which ones I choose over the other one because I've had these and I just drank them on occasion and I might like one and favor it, just drinking it on the average day. But then when you put them side by side, sometimes I'm surprised at which one I actually feel like is a little top notch above the other one.
One thing I will say,
it's all based on flavor and how it makes you feel, basically.
Right. One thing, the prices are usually pretty comparable. Budweiser of all the four is probably the most premiumly priced, at least in my area. I mean, they do have run sales, but like just overall, I would say Budweiser is probably the most premium. And excuse me, of those four, I would have to say Budweiser is actually my least favorite. So price really doesn't mean jack. If it all comes down to personal preference with these types of beers for me because the price is going to be pretty comparable. One quick thing that I wanted to go back to, you were talking about the Old Milwaukee Ice, William. Did you see the new label for the Old Milwaukee Ice?
I have not seen it yet. I'll have to go out and.
It's just like the regular Old Milwaukee now, except instead of the red color, it's black. So it's a black Old Milwaukee logo with the lions and the
Wow, I'll have to check that one out.
They changed it up. Although I saved that can of the blue with the big OM. I kind of like that retro look. Yeah.
Dates back to the Lincoln administration, I think.
So you guys don't get the can with the girl on it, the pinup girl?
We're talking about the ice.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the logo, like the regular Old Milwaukee. It's got the logo, that kind of regal looking logo with the and it just says Old Milwaukee, and then on the side it's got the girl. But I'm talking about the basic label design of the actual Old Milwaukee logo itself. So what they did was they took that logo and instead of it being red, they made it black, and it's got the That's the new label for the Old Milwaukee Ice, which we don't get here anyway, Bumpy. So it's kind of a moot point for me. But I was mentioning to William because he can get it either in his area or when he takes his road trips to Pennsylvania.
I can get that one here.
You can get that there. So so I'd be interested. You'll have to pick you up a can for your collection of the new label design.
But
and they changed the ABV of it. It's labeled on the label design that I saw. It's marked at 6%. So it went up 1/10% ABV.
1/10 of 1%.
Right.
So 5.9 to.
So now it matches King Cobra at 6%.
It makes me wonder though with that.
You know what it probably is because let me tell you as a home brewer, when you measure out your gravities and stuff like that, you come up to like, I don't know, 5.49, but it might have like an extra 4 in there or 5 or something. And what do? You say, I'm going to round that up to the next closest number. So that's probably what they did. It's probably exactly the same.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It makes me wonder if they actually changed the recipe or if they're rounding up now.
Well, John, before you got on, Pabst ABV used to be 4.74. Now it's 4.8. Did they change it, or if they rounded it up, they did it wrong? Because my math tells you if it's less than 5%, you go down.
If it's less than 5, you drop it down. If it's 5 or over, you can round it up.
But considering it's Pabst, I'm not surprised. Pabst is Pabst. They do some crazy things.
Yeah, we all know if you watched William's channel about a month and a half ago, we did what's the deal with Pabst? Yeah, you'll
rant. Pabst, get your act together. The rant is on my channel.
Right? Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Pabst just does whatever the hell they want. They don't have any regard for their actual customer base.
But I'd like to thank Kevin Johnson for his comment here and that's what I try to do: deliver good content. That's all. I'm a beer enthusiast, and that's what I'm trying to do. So thank you for that. Yeah,
and most people don't give these types of beers the time of day. It's nice, especially somebody like me who started out with cheap malt liquor and didn't really start drinking craft beer until years into my beer drinking. It's really nice to really give these beers the time and attention that they deserve. In my opinion, I think they deserve this. They're staples in the beer community or in the beer world, and without these types of products, we wouldn't have all the fancy craft beer. So you got to give them their due.
Plus, you have some of the most sought out best beer reviewers on BeerTube or YouTube today, minus myself, doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nelly.
Kevin Johnston, and I mentioned a little white wine, the little dry note in it, so I'd concur with that too. That was my impression.
Unvoted Chardonnay flavor, huh?
There's been so many comments. I apologize. There have been so many comments that I haven't been able to keep up and then chat along with my two panelists here, but that's better than the opposite. I'm glad. I'm really stoked about the reaction to this. We had a nice steady flow of comments here, and that's what.
Well, the comments were all for Coors too, so I think we shocked the world.
I think so. I shocked the world. But I'm glad of that because that was the idea behind this. That these are readily available products. Everybody has a story, a connection with these. Not trying to impress people about drinking these uber fancy beers, but I think there's a place for these beers. And obviously there's a response to it as we have here tonight. And that was all the design of this tournament, was to bring some readily available beers, and let people just drink them and, have people to comment. To me, that's the enjoyment of it. And
right.
Can't wait until this tournament becomes Imperial Stouts barrel aged.
I don't know what I'll do with myself when that happens.
If you have a taste test of 2 13%ers, you might better have the paramedic.
You might want to start that stream a little bit earlier.
Yeah, that's right. And if they warm up, you'll only drink them faster because those high gravity, like a stout to me, it eggs you on to take that next sip. It might be 13%, but it's so tasty and so rich. You want to take that next sip and you start diving into it. Before you know it, that 13% taps you on the shoulder and says, I'm in control now. So it's something you have to be very careful with those beers because they're not really boozy. They're very flavorful, but they're sneaky.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll try to get caught up here on that.
Oh wow, you are behind on the comments.
You're absolutely. I apologize for that. There's so many.
I just realized. Yeah, like
Jeremy, Hams was brought up. Okay, you just be quiet. Go sit down.
Try to get caught up with these.
Where the skies as blue as the water, or something like that, right? Hams. Where's Ronald Sutton when you really need him? Tell you all about Hams. Oh, see, and Thomas Meadow actually puts that in the chat at the same time I'm saying it.
Ice beer challenge and getting some.
I like that. Yeah, that'd be an easy one for most people because those 4 ice beers that we mentioned, I think most people can get all 4. And then if we threw in a wild card like Molson Ice or Genesee Ice or Milwaukee's Best Ice, that'd be cool.
Wait, I thought you were talking about the IPAs and pale ales.
No, I was just talking about the reinforcing Kevin Johnston's idea or comment about wanting to do the ice beer.
Oh, I thought you meant
I like Dale's Pale Ale Lagunitas.
Yeah, I was like, if you throw an ice beer at those, the ice beer is going to win.
No.
We're talking about. We can talk about one thing. We're not excluding the other. We're just talking about many different things. You can have tournaments of, all types, all styles of beers. The pale ales, the IPAs, the Bock, the anything. A lot of these.
The true Kolsch.
Kolsch.
Everybody has to get a Kolsch from Cologne, Germany. Good luck.
Was that the winner for Multi Monday for next week, the Kolsch?
Are you asking me or are you telling me, John?
I'm asking you because I didn't catch the
results. I appreciate you watching my channel.
I've watched your channel. I've been busy. I'll catch up with
Kolsch one. I make a minute-long video. Damn it! It's not hard to click on.
Okay. Well, you didn't post it till I haven't watched any YouTube videos since.
Oh, of course I posted it. I posted it Wednesday night.
That was last night, so I haven't. And I just got home to do this. I haven't watched it.
I saw your Marco Polos at like 11 o'clock last night. Anybody home?
I don't know.
This is your Johnny boy.
That was not last night. I went to bed early last night.
We had a few comments.
I don't know what you're
had a few comments from the motor enthusiast about cars. Remember, do not drink and drive. Never the twain shall meet. So I don't want to,
leave. Yeah, that's right. Leave the drinking and driving to the professionals.
I'm glad to see the vigorous comments, but 4 wheels and hops don't mix. Even about
the hops and cops. The hops and cops don't mix. There you go.
Who would think you'd find a comment about torque converter in beer chat? Rear-wheel drive. Yeah, the torque converter transfers power to the rear wheels, but I always drive a stick, so I like the manual.
I had an SS that I built for drag racing, a Trailblazer SS, and it was still my regular driving vehicle, but it was never really on the road much because it was always broken. But I got a 3200 stall converter.
Yeah.
So that way it would wind up and then it would catch and then go.
Although
quick off the line.
You've got these new dual clutch fancy transmissions that you can automatics are actually faster than you can shift one manually. Like the paddle shifters or these transmissions have come a long way with automatic transmissions used to be called slush boxes. I was always into the manual transmission. rolling the gears myself. I want to be able to determine myself what gear I'm in. But these new automatics are really, really something else. There's a 10-speed Mustang now you can get, and you cannot manually shift those as fast as that car can shift itself. But still, to me, there's something about doing it yourself. I've always liked the manuals, and it actually takes a little bit of skill to manipulate three pedals with 2 feet. You got a brake pedal, a clutch pedal, and an accelerator. And manipulating those 3 among the 2 feet, then using your hands too. It always made me more aware, a better driver, because I was constantly aware of what was going on. It involved your mind's still involved in driving. So that's what I've always liked about those.
What builds a better reaction time? Playing video games or driving a vehicle on the freeway?
Both at the same, playing video games while driving a vehicle on the interstate.
I had a Honda S2000. That thing, it handled like a slot car. A high revving 4-cylinder engine, almost like a motorcycle engine. But that thing on a twisty back road, you could tear up. You could really make some time on it with a Honda S2000. I still so wish I had mine. The closest thing to a motorcycle I've ever ridden that had 4 wheels. Been in a great car. That brings back memories. My Honda S2000.
Years ago, there was somebody that they still work where I work, but they had an Honda. Oh my God, I need another beer. They had a Honda S2000, and this was like years and years and years ago. I was a much younger person then, and I'm not sure if it was jealousy or whatnot, but I was like, oh yeah, look at that flashy person with that expensive car. They must be still living with their parents.
Well, Thomas Middle 75, who brought the wrong beers to one of my hangouts. I put the picture this time of both of them, but unfortunately, he had already visited the dark side last week and then cast his vote. So, but that's a whole nother story.
Which I don't. Did PBR win on the exhibition round with Jay, or did Coors win? I didn't even watch the conclusion of that. Do you know?
Actually, Thomas Metal, Eric Fromfeder voted for Pabst. The other 2 voted for Coors. So Coors won 2-1. So if you include those, Pabst is still.
Well, then PBR would still win because
PBR would still win.
It would be then it would be 4-2 then, I guess,
right.
if we include their.
But the point of it is you don't include it. If you play an exhibition football game, those stats don't transfer.
Right, they don't count. So yeah, so it was unanimous.
So that was flawed reasoning on as far as I'm concerned. But I'm glad it turned out the way. I'm glad we got this in, and I really enjoyed it. And so it's. I'll try to get.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some more coming up on your channel soon. Hopefully I'll be able to join more. I wanted to join the other ones, of course, but I just unexpected work stuff, and then. But of all the ones to join, this is the one. This is for all the.
I think we've been friends pretty much from the beginning. From my first days on Beer Tube, we sort of hit it off really well. And I was glad you're able to make it tonight. It's hard sometimes with scheduling to get everybody on this, but these are the 3. And I said before, I really thank Bumpy. He was here for every one of these, and that means a lot to me. And
Bumpy doesn't really have a lot. Oh, there he is. Hey, Bumpy.
I was trying to give him but
hey, I got interviewed today. Okay, that's all I need to say. I'm popular.
Really?
Yeah. And I had to explain that in my job, I work 3 days and I have 4 days off to be able to drink and hang out and stuff on YouTube with friends and just do everything.
You lucky dog, you.
Molson Ice, that's one of my favorites in that category. I like the Molson.
That's interesting. The Molson Ice, I think, is better than the Molson Golden is good as well, but Molson Ice just got that little extra kick. it's funny how beers, it's like, oh, I like this beer, but I hate the other one, and really, the beers are more alike than they are different.
Right.
So it's kind of makes you wonder if do they hate the beer because of the like they've got these preconceived notions with different labels and the marketing of the products, or is it actually a discrepancy with the beer? Like if you blindfolded them and gave them, let's say, oh, I love Bud Ice, I love Bud Light, but I hate Miller Lite. If you blindfolded that person and gave them Bud Light and Miller Lite, would they really be able to tell the difference?
Yeah, there's a psychological element to drinking too.
I think that plays a lot more into it than people are willing to admit. People are so, with the macro, with these big brands, Budweiser, Coors, Pabst, there's people are so brand loyal to these different beers, and I think a lot of times it's not so much an indication of the quality of the product; it's just what you're used to, and you kind of trash some of the other beers, even though they're 95% similar and only maybe a 5% difference, if that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Talking about that though, it was brought up in the interview. I talked about it in the interview I had today.
Don't you feel special?
I do. Interview. But no, that was kind of brought up, and I was talking about like. I think the question was if like breweries and stuff, if they like comment and stuff on any of the videos that I do. And I was kind of mentioning like there was somebody that commented only when I did certain breweries beers. And then when I said something bad about one of the beers from that brewery, they never showed up again to leave a comment. And I said, I noticed that like sometimes I go into breweries to purchase beers, and I'm not sure if it's like some paranoia thing or I'm self-conscious, but sometimes it seems like people are like, oh no, here's that guy. He's going to say something bad. Because my whole thing is, it doesn't matter. I mean, like, I love Backyard Brewery. I love Marcus. He's, the co-owner, him and his sister own Backyard Brewery. I interviewed him personally and everything. And I say it as it is, if I have a beer that I really don't care for, I haven't scored all their beers excellent, They have some average ones. They have some they've been a couple that have been gross, and I put it out there, so I don't have like any loyalty to anything. It's like, I just call it as I feel it is, when I talk about a beer. So
comment about the Milwaukee's Beast, the billboard. They brought the billboards back when they went back to 5.9% from 6.9. They did, and I remember 5.9 is back. They people say,
I remember that with the Ice House on my way when I was working in Atlanta about 2 years ago. You hit 85 North, and right off the exit, where I was living, it said Ice House, the original Ice House, Ice House, the original recipe is back. Enjoy that classic taste. And it had the big, can of Ice House with the, poured into the frosty mug with the head going over the top. It was quite an appetizing. It made you want to go out and buy Ice House. That's for sure.
In late 2016, they made the decision to bump up Ice House and Milwaukee's Best Ice to 6.9. Ice House had been 5.5 to 6.9, which is a pretty good jump. The Beast was 5.9 to 6.9, but
not quite as big of a jump.
It was a total flop. Within maybe 3 or 4 months, the originals were back and the billboards were out. So, sometimes, fortunately for them, they recognized the error of their ways pretty soon, and they acted quickly. For a company that large, which has some inertia built in, it's hard to make the quick decisions for large conglomerations, but they did an about face very quickly. And those 5.9s were back in the store before you could snap your finger.
I must say, I was a little disappointed that they didn't keep the 6.9, at least in conjunction with the 5.9, and just rename it like the Ice House Extra or the, I don't know, just kind of like they do with a lot of other beers, because I actually really enjoyed the Ice House 6.9 version. The Milwaukee's Best Ice 6.9 was okay. That one was a little harsh, but I thought that the Ice House 6.9%, I thought it was dynamite. I actually liked it better than regular Ice House. So, of course, when I became attached to it, they immediately decided to discontinue it. But
Genesee Ice here is another sort of the probably the sort of a middle-level ice beer. Wouldn't be the first one to pop into mind, but I've drank them on quite a few occasions, and I generally like the Genesee products.
I like Genesee Ice a lot, and that's actually one that I do buy every now and then because of the price, because it's not really – I mean, it's comparable to a lot of the ice beers, the higher-end ice beers, but it's $13.99 for a 30-pack here.
I can get the 24-ounce cans for 99 cents.
Unfortunately, I can't find the singles anymore, so if I do buy it, I have to splurge for the 30-pack. But for $13.99, I mean, every once in a while, it's worth doing for me.
That 5.5% is a sweet spot for a lot of people as far as drinkability and such. A little more flavor than the adjunct lager, but it's not in getting smashed territory. So with the 5.5s, like I said, is a nice safe spot for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to catch. You still got a ways to go on these comments.
I'm over it. This is like turbo lag in a car.
Yeah, you just start clicking. Just start clicking away.
Yeah, I think I will.
Click till your finger falls off.
I don't want to dismiss anybody, but I'm glad everybody's tuned in. But
well, I see at the top there, you haven't got to it yet, but Nina says MG Cars and Old Speckled Hen have a connection, and they do, because Old Speckled Hen is actually because of the MG car. That's what it's named after.
Yeah.
So,
the more you know with Bumpy.
Eric can get all the ice beers.
When you watch history about beer.
The question with Eric will be how many different versions would he enter into a tournament? Would he slip over in his right now? It's questionable, but anyway, we'll deal with that later. Bumpy Ray.
Hops meet the cops, I think is what she was trying to, from Bumpy's statement earlier. Hops and cops don't mix.
Yeah, Hoops meets the cops. That was a movie that was called White Men Can't Jump.
Right.
Or Basketball Diaries.
Yeah. I remember that movie. Well, Eric, that one doesn't count.
That was an quote-unquote exhibition. Were you not paying attention, Eric?
You exercise.
Well, you voted correctly. You voted for PBR, so.
I guess we'll give that another. PBR gets another win off of Eric's.
You see,
exhibition
Eric,
PBR vote.
they play. And the Red Sox will play exhibition games. Those results will not transfer into the regular season. So you see, it's two different entities. I hope that clarifies that. As I mentioned, he did vote for PBR. I'm behind.
Yeah. And what goes on here is not the say all end all.
Absolutely.
If there's a majority of people out there that prefer Coors over PBR, then so be it. It's just based off who shows up and what we think of it.
And I thought it was entertaining to,
hold
them up. When I saw those three PBR cans held up together, I was shocked. I thought it was going to be 2-1 Coors, and I voted for PBR. That was what
I was a little surprised, but now interesting. You might actually know this off the top of your head, William, because I know you keep up with this a lot more than some of us do. But the sales, the overall numbers between Coors and PBR, like I know Coors is probably top 5 or top 7 in overall sales.
PBR actually sells better than Coors.
Really? Okay. See, I would have thought Coors would be ahead of PBR in sales just because you don't see PBR advertisements or TV commercials, radio ads, but Coors Banquet is very very highly marketed.
But PBR is like $1 less per 12-pack than.
I guess they don't market it because they can. Well, who are we kidding? It's because it's Pabst. Never mind. That's why.
Actually, Coors is outside the top 20. It's number 22 in sales.
And Coors, and what is Coors?
Coors is 22. It's outside the top 20.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, what is PBR then? What was PBR?
17.
Well, they're not too far apart. I figured Coors would be way ahead of PBR in sales just from the marketing alone.
What's the number one in sales for the American Adjunct?
Budweiser.
Budweiser still is?
Number 2 would be Miller High Life. No, actually, number 2 would be Busch. Excuse me. Number 3 would be Miller High Life.
Right, and these are for regular macro, but overall, the top 3 are all light beers, right?
And 7 of the top 10 are light beers if you put in Busch. So, I mean, it's top heavy with light beers. There's no getting around that. And
as far as I'm going to state this right now, and then if this tournament comes up and I prove myself wrong, or if the beer that I really like just gets kicked out, Miller Lite is my favorite American Adjunct light lager.
I thought that I want to agree with you, but I can't because I did a blind taste challenge between Bud Light and Miller Lite Coors Light. I thought Miller Lite was going to blow the other two away because everybody talks about that special hop character that Miller Lite has. I call poppycock on that because I couldn't tell the difference between any of them. They all tasted like water or very, very watered down beer, very light. I could not tell the difference. I think the winner actually I gave the win to Bud Light, but I remember when I did it, I was like, these are all so close. And if you tried to, if you gave a Miller Lite person a Bud Light and told them it was Miller Lite, probably 95% of them wouldn't be the wiser. They wouldn't know. They think they were drinking what you told them it was because they're so close. Closer than that. I mean, even closer, a lot closer than, as close as these are. You take that with the light beer, and it's like even more difficult to tell them apart. At least with these beers, you can tell the hop character and the fruitiness with the Coors. There's noticeable differences, but for me, the Bud Light, Miller Lite, Coors Light, it was a wash. They were all too watery to really distinguish between the flavors that were there. At least for me. Now, I guess if all you drink is light beer, maybe you might be able to tell a difference more easily because that's what you're used to. But for me, it was like an impossible task to tell them apart.
Eric, I would be apart. That means you'd be separate. Greg would be, mine is a terrible thing to waste. Where has literacy gone in America?
Separate the A from the rest of the part.
The A from the P, Eric.
You can stay intact.
I would be a part of a tournament, not a part. John Neely, he correctly used the word just a minute ago.
He'll join somebody else's channel to do the tournament.
See, mine is a terrible thing to waste. We'll move on. Okay. He did spell happening, right? Let's see. It was
Well, he yelled it at you.
Yeah, he's yelling. He's taking it personal.
Wait until you get to the bottom one. You're gonna love that one. Because you're a grammar guy. I can see.
Okay,
so.
I'd love to knock him again here.
Not only did he spell basic, he butchered your last name again too.
Okay. I'll get to that. Because he was one of those that
Mr. Capelli. I agree. Nina. Michelob Light is if you're talking about the blue label, not Michelob Ultra Light. Michelob Light is very good. It's just almost impossible to find now because Ultra Light is so popular. There you go. Statement of the night right there.
Isn't autocorrect a bitch?
Good damn it, as opposed to bad damn it. Your English, Capelli. Okay, I'll accept. I've been called worse than Capelli, so You fools! Exclamation! 2 exclamation points in the same. I always thought if you had to use exclamation points to make your point, you were probably lacking. If you make,
I'll take. You know what though? I'll take extra exclamation points over unnecessary commas any day.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's true.
That's all I'm gonna say. I think you know where I'm going with that.
I like run-on sentences with a ton of ands. And.
You're right. No capitalization, no punctuation whatsoever. Just run-on sentences.
Okay. John Vanille.
Vanille, yeah.
John Vanille.
That's apparently that's my nickname now. I don't know how that happened, but
okay.
I think Bumpy started that, and then now everybody calls me.
No, I didn't do that.
No, maybe Eric. Maybe it was
not
Eric.
That I remember. I'm not going to.
Somebody started it over the last 2 weeks. Everybody's been calling me Vanille. I don't know why.
I call you the Annihilator.
Frankie Vanille in the Four Seasons. John Vanille in the Four Seasons. Okay, I finally caught up after the turbo lag. I finally caught up to the
chat. It only took almost 2 hours.
That's right. I swear I wasn't. I wasn't prepared for that, but I'm glad. I'm glad it resonated with people, and they really did enjoy it enough to take their time to watch this and comment, because that's what it's all about for me.
Yes. So thank you, Eric, for continuing to watch and comment.
Right, and continue to butcher the English language.
And Nina, you hung in there too. But, Nina Power.
Well, like I say, we'll wrap this up now, and just to summarize, in the first round, Bud was edged by Coors 3-2.
I chose Bud.
I did too. It's turned out I was the only one that voted with the winner each time.
That's interesting. So it was 1 vote away from possibly the final being Budweiser.
The volatile nature of these things. And in the other semifinal, PBR blitzed Miller High Life 4-0. Miller 4-0. Then we had
I chose Miller on that one.
I watched, the ones I couldn't join. I watched them all. I think I truly believe the 2 best beers are in.
You said 4-0.
Yeah. What's that?
I chose Miller or something on one of them. I don't know.
Everyone that I watched, I have agreed with the outcome. Like, the only one that may have been. Well, no, because I think PBR is hands down better than Miller High Life. But Miller High Life is kind of a sleeper, I think. It's one of the smoother. Like, I think Miller High Life versus Coors, that may have been a very difficult challenge for me. But that vegetal thing that you get with the High Life probably would be a dead giveaway, because the Coors Banquet doesn't have that vegetal note. But Miller High Life, man, you want to talk about a good chugger, a good, easy down and sessionable beer. Miller High Life is one of the easiest beers to drink, in my opinion. Just saying.
We just needed something fun to talk about when we saw your comments.
Right. I couldn't resist.
We love you. We love you, Eric. We love you.
We got Tyler in here now. Tyler, we're wrapping it up, man.
Guys, you can't leave me. I can't be the only one saying that. You all have to say it too.
Tyler,
we love you, Eric. We love you, Eric. We're only saying that because we don't want Bumpy to feel weird now. Even if we do love you, it's just strange saying it out loud. Thanks, Bumpy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Tyler Mansell from the Pacific Northwest, formerly of the cheese state of Wisconsin.
That's right.
A member of the Beer Talk gang.
He used to have his own YouTube channel. I did a lot of food and beer videos with him, but unfortunately, he removed all of his content and he threw in the towel years ago. Back when I had a full head of hair, we used to, but nobody will ever know. The videos, there's no evidence of it, but I had that back when I had my afro.
Right.
We saw some pictures. You showed some pictures to us.
Yeah, you look like younger. The Mod Squad at one time. Lean.
Right.
You remind me of you kind of look like the kid from American Pie.
Which Good Lord.
The one
main guy
the main guy that stuck his penis in the pie. Yeah.
That guy.
No, that guy.
Goodness. Awkward silence.
Right. Sometimes silence is golden. But then as I summarize then the consolation match, Miller High Life's got third place. They edged Budweiser, and that brought us to tonight. But I feel, like I said, the Chicago Tribune, their 2017 challenge, which was exclusively craft beer testers, along with they picked Hams, and PBR was next among the adjunct lagers. And Paste Magazine did a 30 beer regular beer taste challenge, and PBR did very well in it, also finishing very close to Hams. So I think it turned out pretty good, and I think I was the only one that voted with the majority each time. For all rounds, I was on the quote unquote winning side for whatever it's worth. And I didn't think I was going to be that way tonight. I thought it was going to be 2-1. But it was good that it was decisive. Didn't have to resort to any other outside votes or anything.
Well, yeah. If you went to the outside votes, Coors would have won, based off of the chat. What they were saying at first, Coors wins. Coors
maybe
wins,
the chat. Yeah, I was going to say even.
From this chat, I think Coors was a prohibitive victor. And like I say, perfectly legitimate, because Lord knows these are similarities are very small, and that's the fun thing about it. Each person
can like I said at the beginning, if this was like a 10-minute thing, maybe even if I just took them out of the fridge, we had to wait a little bit longer, let them warm up. But I get to taste the faults, and the faults were less evident, I think, in the PBR. It kind of still kept its true value.
I'd propose this right now, Bumpy, because like I said, you were with me every round of the way. If Coors wants to do a smackdown on PBR, say if we drink the same tincture, I'm better than you, I'd be willing to do another one. Just do a smackdown.
Oh yeah, me too. Especially because I had that weird aroma, and I'm not sure
if that would be well in the cards to do a smackdown between these two.
Yeah, but have them I want to not take them out of the fridge until it's time. We're going, we're live. Let's drink them.
I'd definitely in for doing that. I might even kick off the SmackDown series.
Yeah, my first 10 minutes into this, after going past the aroma is horrible. Of course, I'm blaming the glass. Because the taste was fine, but yeah.
But it was a little rocky, because when I first
I could revisit these and drink them at proper temperature.
And in clean glassware.
Yeah.
Right. After I get my new dishwasher.
But it's been, as they say, Grateful Dead says, what a long, strange trip it's been. Did each round, then we had one round hijacked. Then tonight, the link didn't work. When I posted a link, it wasn't all underlined at first. So Bumpy helped me. We got that figured out. Then we come on, so we had the delay. Bumpy's beer got at optimum temperature.
Right, waiting for a Nelly. Nelly's 10 minutes turns into 15.
But,
sorry.
Oh wait, no way, I said that wrong. And Nelly's 10 minutes turns into, it was 15 plus the 10 minutes.
But
25.
But for a guy that drove all the way, but on that, for a guy that drove all the way from Georgia last spring to visit me when I just got out of my hospital, I waited a few minutes. That was no.
That's right. See, Bumpy, I get a pass. So,
and we can redo. We can do a SmackDown. I of course, man, I want a SmackDown. It'd be like a referee's controversial call. It went the wrong way. And we can do replay. Under further review, Coors gets a rematch. So
yeah, I do it. I would do. I can't guarantee you they're going to be canned on exactly the same date like these two were, but yeah, I would like to drink them a bit chilled, more chilled.
They might not be the
I
same.
should have been smart. I should have been smarter myself at this and put them back in the. I just took
Here's,
them out as soon as it was time to go, and I
here's
was.
what I got. This is what I use. I've got a
There
little
you
cooler
go.
here.
Oh, the cooler was some ice. Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's a good idea. That's because there's something about cooler beer. It's just so much better, so much colder. It stays colder, and
it stays. I mean, I've got a second one in here, which I might pop open in a minute for the Victor, and it's going to be right at the right temperature. These things really stay cold. You put a few cubes of ice. What I put is it's a little block here.
The SmackDown stuff, Ronnie, is you just instead of doing like the full tournament, like 4 beers, you got these two. It's just 2 beers, and then they just go head to head, and
Yeah,
whichever one wins out of that, it wins that championship or whatever for the SmackDown.
one beer calls the other one out saying I'm better than you.
Yeah,
and they can list whatever reason. I'm cheaper. I got better flavor. I'm taking you on, and they smack it down. And then you just have we can do the same format where you drink them and comment while you're drinking it. Then at the end, hands up, decides the winner. That's what I like about this, that little bit of suspense. It's a competition. And,
yeah.
No sporting events here with a pandemic. That's why I thought this was good timing to do this. And
Yeah,
I'm really
and I can see the Coors, if they're at the optimal, because they do have the drinking temperatures they tell you to drink their beers at. So I could see Coors possibly being better than Pabst, maybe when they're both at 34 degrees Fahrenheit.
32 to 40 is really what these are. And I think mine were well within that range, but you could say it was still 2-1, even if Coors could have made a better showing for you. But I still think it wouldn't be bad to do a SmackDown.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy both. I don't need an excuse to drink a couple more of these. I mean, I like them
Yeah.
anyway. So
No, and I wouldn't be ashamed. Like if my what I say, is better on that date. If I say the Coors beats the Pabst, hey, it's just that date. Palates do change over time. The what the temperature of the beer is, how the beer was handled. That's another thing too. You can have faulty cans come out of these major breweries sometimes. Your beer glass, maybe if you pour it in a beer glass versus drinking it right out of the can, or if you drink it right out of the can, if you didn't lift the top off, maybe a rat pissed on the top of it, that could change it. There's so many variables.
right,
So many
you're
variables.
drinking. Yeah, the can is laced with rat urine, and you take a sip, and it's like something just doesn't taste right about this.
It's a little lemony.
Always wipe off the top of your cans if you're drinking it right out of the can.
wipe that surface good. That surface.
Yeah, really good. You should see some of these rodents that are crawling around these breweries at night.
Yeah.
Let's see.
In Germany, they call them some type of nymph. It was like they considered them ghosts or whatever that would look over the brewery, the brews that were fermenting and stuff to make sure they were going well. But really, it was just rats.
Got a comment here. What's this SmackDown stuff? I'll try to put it in as few words as I can. SmackDown would be a SmackDown series, a direct one-on-one competition between 2 beers, basically half of a Final Four, where one beer challenges the other one. SmackDown, I think I'm better than you. And they go
Head to head,
the same format. Everybody drinks the beers at the same real time. We have a real time voting and declare a winner. So that's basically what it is. Ideally, you would pair. These would be beers that you might cross shop. You'd be considered one, maybe the other ones together. Apples to apples comparison, or maybe
that might be one like where you're looking at Coors Banquet and PBR,
right?
And you go with whichever one's on sale because
Yeah. Or if you always been drinking that Bud Light, you look over and say, "Well, heck, Busch is only 4 more calories more and 1/10%. Maybe I should try Busch. Might actually have a little bit more flavor, and I'm not missing out on anything." So that's what it is. That's the idea of the SmackDown series, and so that's what we were basically talking about. But just another way to get beers involved, familiar beers, but yet in a different context.
Wipe your nose after brown nosing.
Brown nosing. I could say something, but I won't there. But the crowd has left the stadium. The vendors have sold their last beer. They're sweeping the arena. So I think we'll bring this to a close now.
Was that the end? Was that the end to Casey's at bat poem?
I just made that up there.
Oh,
it was just a little bit of ad lib. Poorly.
Casey's up at bat. He's got 2 strikes on.
The mighty Casey has struck out.
The mighty Casey struck out.
I thought The Rock, maybe Rolling Rock, could be a part of a SmackDown. Like I said, I did my own the other night with Rolling Rock and Bush. But I want to thank John from Georgia and Jesse Merrill, Bumpy Road Brewery from New Hampshire, for joining me tonight. And thank for all those. I mean, like I said, I couldn't keep up with the chats. It was like turbo lag. I'd fallen behind. I'm sorry for that, but I was trying to do that and then still make a few comments, and it really got but I'm glad that people were interested enough. It resonated enough. That's what it's all about for me.
You still got new fresh chats coming in 2 hours into your stream.
Yeah. So
which is more than what I can say.
That I'm surprised really, because I said, heck, I'm 30 minutes behind on this thing. But anyway, so we'll wrap it up here. And
well, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. I wish I could have joined them all, but I'm really glad that I got to join tonight. And thank you guys for being patient and waiting on me. And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thoroughly.
Very thoroughly. Yes. Yes, Bumpy.
Thoroughly. One final note: they actually at one time had a commission about simplifying the spelling of them in America, and because on Coors it said thoroughly aged, and they spelled it THOROLY. They shortened it, and actually there was a presidential commission that studied that, but it never got much traction except for the fact that through, like drive-through, became THRU. A couple other words, but at one time they were considering basically revamping our system of spelling to make it more simple. You know, why use 7 letters when you can maybe get by with 4 or 5? I thought it was a pretty novel. It was at the turn of the century when Teddy Roosevelt was president, and it got a lot of attention at that time. But if you
so all that stuff messed me up.
Right.
Because I would write through and I'd be like, I'm pretty sure it's THROUGH, but that doesn't make sense because I go through a drive-through and it's THRU, and I must be an idiot.
No, that happened.
You know,
if you look on some of the old cans of Coors, it will say thoroughly aged, THOROLY, perfectly acceptable at that time. But it never caught on. But I've often thought to myself, well, they're using too many letters. Let's get away with this GH and that stuff. You know, telephone. Let's just go with the F, not the PH. Phone. You know.
Another one's late night menu, NITE instead of NIGHT.
Right. There are some that made it into our popular lexicon, and we use the words without even thinking about it. It's been short.
I was that stupid. Leave me alone.
Hey, Miller Lite, you know, took out the GH and put an E on the end.
And some words we have shortened over time. We just leave out some of the letters, you know, in our common language. We didn't change the spelling. We just don't use the full word sometimes now.
Okay.
Right.
OK versus OKAY. Okay.
Yeah. We're using it like
Or
an
if you're texting, it's just K.
Yeah.
Or it's just a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Yeah.
Or a
A lot of
winky face.
Emojis have replaced actual words now.
Right.
Right.
And a lot of people use the caps, which caps are meant for acronyms. Like scuba was self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. The word scuba, it meant something. An acronym is a letters that can be said as one word that represent something else. And that's what scuba is. Where NFL is not a word. It's not an acronym either. It's an alphabetism because you can't say it as a word. You can't say NUFL, NFL. So that's the difference between those two. But yes, if you just think about some more, we used to say the full word. It's like dish. It's not delicious, it's dish. Oh, that was delish.
Oh, delish, yeah.
That's one.
That's Alex's favorite word.
If you start thinking about that, a lot of them will come to mind. We don't use the full word anymore. And
right.
You could have sometime a beer and language hangout. Beer and language.
The more you drink, the less.
But then you got different words. You get different stuff from the South versus the North, just in America. Like y'all is a big Southern thing, which is just you all or all of you.
You all.
Yeah, right. all of you would be the proper English. But
there are many violators. If you look on chat forums and all through social media, the misuse of like there and there or yours and yours. I mean, it is just, if I had $1 for every time I saw that, I'd be a rich person. Yours and yours, theirs and theirs. Just simple stuff you learn in school, and that's it. But I thought that was a delish sandwich. That was a delish beer. Sounds different than.
Actually, what does Alex actually say? I think he just says it was delish.
Delish. That beer was delish.
Rather than delicious.
Or is it lish?
It's no. He says lish. And then he says appreciate you, not I appreciate you. Appreciate you. He leaves off the AP at the first or the A and the first P.
And when Jimi Hendrix said, "Excuse me," while I kiss the sky. Excuse me, not excuse me. He just over the X. Purple haze. Excuse me while I kiss the sky. But I love language. I've always, I studied English in college, and I've always been fascinated by language and the way people use it and misuse it. In advertising, like Milwaukee's best. Do we really think it's the best?
Right. That's why I got the nickname the Beast.
And actually, there's a legal term for that called puffery, where they're allowed to exaggerate and overstate their products because that's just considered advertising. Because nobody would be foolish enough to take it seriously. So they can say homemade. What is homemade? Old-fashioned. All these words that just mean nothing.
But world's best. If I had $1 for every time I saw that about the world's best hamburger, world's best hot dog. Yeah. Well, my goodness.
I like when I use a word that doesn't have the actual meaning of what I'm saying. But to me, it does because I have no clue what I'm saying. If you know what I'm saying.
No, not really.
like there'll be a word. It's like, I don't know. We'll just make something up. I'll say dilly dangle, and be like, yeah, this is like a dilly dangle fruit flavor. Thinking, oh yeah, to me dilly dangle means like something coming from a tree. It's a tree fruit type deal.
Here's another one.
But really, dilly dangle means something you find at the strip club in a mill, like a Chippendale. So I say, oh, it's like dilly dangle, and everybody's like, God, beer tastes like cock. No, it's like grapes.
I just thought of another word that's been shortened. That beer was rad. Radical, rad. People use that a lot. That was rad. That IPA was hoppy. It was rad.
Yeah.
I'll be laying in bed tonight thinking about a 50 or 100 of those things. Right. All the things we
Radical.
Rad. That was rad. And most young people would not even associate it as being radical. They've only heard rad. They probably wouldn't make
Right.
it. Well, actually, that came from radical, so.
Yeah.
But
I'm watching Bit by Bit is a documentary on punk rock music in the United States. It's interesting.
do you like punk?
Yeah, I like punk.
Yeah.
I like the Ramones. I like the Dropkick Murphys and stuff. But there's some other ones like Beastie Boys. Like I really got big in the Beastie Boys, and the Beastie Boys started off as punk, and they were kind of like they favorited the rap scene. They wanted to be rappers, so they kind of went like with the Run DMC type thing. But yeah, I was always enjoyed punk music,
Sex
but that
Pistols.
kind of got me into metal. But I went to
I
hardcore
remember
metal.
when the Sex Pistols came out. I was in high school, and their first album was released, and then punk sort of got housebroken and became new wave.
Yeah.
CBGB scene in New York City spawned a lot of bands, Talking Heads, many groups. But the Ramones, I like. There would be a whole album of songs that would be 30 minutes long. They could do 15 songs at 2 minutes each, and it was 30 minutes, just straight ahead. At that time, rock and roll had gotten very overblown, a lot of prog rock and 20-minute songs. And Ramones brought it back to the core. It was about energy. It was about impact, making a quick statement, rock and roll, forceful. And at that time, rock and roll did need a kick in the ass. And the Ramones were what delivered. I remember when it first came out. They were very, very instrumental in sort of steering rock and roll back into sort of its beginnings. And but that was a great time. But
them and the Sex Pistols.
with Johnny Rotten
and Johnny Rotten, who couldn't really play bass.
Yeah,
couldn't play bass, and he wasn't even in the band all that long before the whole death.
And then Neil Young had the song "Hey Hey My." This is the story of the Johnny Rotten. Hey Hey My. But we'll take this offline now. Like I said, thanks to the two panelists for joining me, two of my best buddies in Beer Talk community, and for the nice stream chat we had. And it was a stream. When they say stream, it was streaming faster than I could keep up with it. But I hope I didn't overlook anybody, try to make comments about most of them. But so bottoms up and don't spill a drop. Until next time, good evening.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching.